Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I just realized this right now, but I unintentionally wore a bird shirt when I'm going to be talking about this series, so just pretend they're ravens. Yeah, cool. Hey everyone, it's Paige, and today I'm here to do a series review of The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. The books within the series include The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. I'm going to start this review by being kind of general with my thoughts on it, and then each section is going to get more and more spoilery as I go. So overall, I really enjoyed this series. I was kind of tentative to get into it, and I've started it like 3 times previously and could never get past the first like 50 pages of the first book because I was really just kind of wary of all the hype. I had heard a lot of different things about it and I wasn't really sure what to think of it, so I think because a lot of the hype died down, at least in the social media circles that I'm in, I decided to pick it back up again and try it, and I'm really glad that I did because I flew through the entire thing and I really enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've read anything by Maggie Stiefvater. The last thing I read by her was the Shiver series, and that was way back in high school, like 8 years ago. Oh man, that makes me sound old. I remember really liking that series. I don't know if I would like it as much now if I read it again, which I probably won't just because of time, but I really, really liked this one. One other thing I want to mention is a lot of people talk about magical realism. Pause on that. What the hell is magical realism? I have no idea. I don't know why I can't stand that term. I don't like the idea of, like, it's either fantasy or it's not. And I think magical realism falls maybe somewhere in the middle. I'm totally guessing on all of this, and if I'm wrong, definitely tell me. But I don't know why, I just don't like that term, and I just accept the series for what it is. I'm not really trying to put it in any box, which a lot of people are like, it's not magical realism, and then other people, it's magical realism. I don't really care about any of that. You can make that decision for yourself. I like the series as it is. That being said, I don't think this is fantasy, but it's also not contemporary. So maybe it is magical realism. I don't know. I don't know these things. I just read the books and tell you what I think in a rambling manner that doesn't make any sense, and this video is going to be so difficult to edit, I can already tell. That being said, let's talk first about The Raven Boys, and this section will be non-spoilery. I rated The Raven Boys 4 out of 5 stars, and I did end up putting it on my all-time favorites shelf, and I'll talk about why in just a second, but I really enjoyed this one. I think it's the one I like the most out of the entire series because there's a lot of world building and information being thrown at you, and I just really liked how all the characters were introduced in this one. I think it was a really solid start to the series. Let's talk about why I didn't give it 5 out of 5 stars. The main reason being kind of dragged a lot in the beginning and a little bit in the middle too, and then at the end it felt super rushed, and I just felt like a lot of things were tied up, and then if I didn't have the second book, I would have really felt like a lot of other things weren't going to be tied up later on. So the whole thing just felt really, really rushed at the end. Like I had to go back and read a couple pages because I was like, whoa, wait, what just happened? I think with a lot of this series, the problem is that like you really have to keep track of your timeline, so you have to think about things that happened before we're introduced to all the characters and then things that are going to happen afterwards, and there's just so much going on. There's so much mystery and a lot that's revealed later on, and it's a very compelling series to say the least. There's just like tons of information and things to discover. However, I think because I can recognize that is why I put it on my all-time favorites shelf. I'm able to recognize the problems that this book has as far as pacing and writing, but I'm still really invested in the series, and I still really like the entire plot and the idea and the characters themselves. I think the characters, this is to be said for the entire series, they really make this story, and they're really compelling, and you're just really interested in what they have to say and who they are and their motivations, and that was what really made me fall in love with this series. The first being Gansey something. Richard Campbell Gainsey III. That's what it is. He is kind of like the ringleader of the entire group, and he's very rich, and he's hunting for this dead Welsh king who, if he is awakened, he will be granted one wish. The second person in the group is Ronan Lynch, and he is probably my second favorite character. He's super interesting, really sarcastic, really kind of mean and abrasive, and you don't really know what to think of him, but he's really funny, and I think he has a lot of really special moments in the series that are often overlooked. He's quite a character, to say the least. The third character is Adam Parrish, who is obviously Gainsey and Ronan's friend, but he is not as rich as Ronan and Gainsey, and all the boys go to a private school called I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, which is a local private school, so it costs a lot of money to go there, which Ronan and Gainsey both have, but Adam doesn't, and he is a scholarship student, and he works really hard to go to this school, and he just constantly feels like he has a gap between him and his friends because of this wealth. So he works with Gainsey, oh my god, I'm probably going to be saying that wrong this entire video, just a preface. He works really hard with Gainsey to find this dead Welsh king so that when he awakens him, he can also get his own wish, and you kind of find out more about that as you go along, which is not really introduced a whole lot in this book, so I'll get to that later. The fourth main character is Blue Sargent, who is the only girl in the group, and she's really interesting and really funny and very sarcastic, super feminist. She really stands on her own. She's awesome, awesome character. I would love to hang out with her sometime. Also very sarcastic. She and Ronan butt heads a lot. You kind of find out more about her as you go along too. She lives with her mother and a bunch of other people in her house, which sounds kind of funny unless you kind of know the series. But anyway, her mom is a psychic along with her mom's two friends. Blue is not psychic, but her ability is that when she's around psychics or people who possess these otherworldly powers, she is able to amplify them for them, so she kind of acts as, I think what they call it in the series is a mirror, and then also just like an amplifier. The fifth character, and my all-time favorite character, I love him so much, is Noah Szczerny. I don't know how to pronounce these last names, or names in general. Noah Szczerny is quite a compelling character. I don't want to say too much about him in this portion because I don't want to reveal spoilers. He is kind of this mysterious boy who also goes to Aglionby and is one of the Raven boys, and he hangs out with Ronan and Gainsey and Adam, and he lives with Ronan and Gainsey at their place. Alright, now let's jump into spoilers. So, spoiler number 1. Noah is dead. Dead boy. Dead. He died. He dead. Yeah. I don't know. I love him so much. He's my favorite ghost, and like I love the little moments where he tugs on Blue's hair when they're hanging out, and they're just so, oh, he's so cute. I love him. And Noah totally deserved better. He did not deserve to die on the ley line. I'm just gonna say that. That was terrible. But that happens obviously before the events of the Raven Boys start, so like I said, I thought that this book was worth 4 out of 5 stars just because it kind of dragged in the beginning and the middle a little bit, but then at the end it was so rushed to the point of me thinking, what the hell is going on here? And I had to reread it, and I still, even though I finished the series, I'm still like, what happened? Yeah, that was kind of a turnoff for me, but I really, really love this series. I think the writing at times is a little pretentious, just because I think I wasn't really used to the writing style, and like I said, I haven't read anything by Maggie Stiefvater in a long time, but Maggie Stiefvater is an amazing writer. I think she does writing very well, which is a high compliment, I think, because I think there's a lot of writers who write a lot and they don't do writing well, and their series suffer because of it. This series flourishes because of Stiefvater's writing. It's just amazing. Alright, let's talk about the Dream Thieves. In the Dream Thieves, we learn more about Ronan and how Ronan is able to pull items from his mind that he has dreamed up. And there's this whole thing where Adam has sacrificed himself to the ley line, and now he's like this magician for caves water. And yeah, if you've read the series, obviously I hope you have if you're watching this spoilery portion, but I loved this book. I think it was on par with the Raven Boys, the first in the series, and I think there was a lot here where it didn't suffer the second book syndrome, because a lot of people had told me that they didn't like this one as much as the first one, but I thought this one was just as good as the first one. I think the third one was not as good as the Dream Thieves. So in this we also meet another dreamer, Kavinsky, obviously, and I really liked Kavinsky. I'm so upset that he died at the end of this because I thought there was a lot that could be explored with his character and a lot more that was going to come from him and Ronan teaming up or being against each other, butting heads, which was really interesting. But there wasn't, and it was kind of a bummer. I just thought that 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 could have gone differently, but it is what it is. My point being, I think Kavinsky could have had a way better plot line than he did, but he was a really compelling villain as well. His motivations, I think, were kind of skewed. Like, that didn't really make sense to me either, of why he cared so much about Ronan and, like, all the things that he was able to bring from the dream world. That just, I don't know, I thought that was kind of bizarre. I also think that it really led the way for Ronan being able to be more accepting of his, like, being able to grab things from the dream world, and there was just a lot going on there. I think Kavinsky was kind of more of a plot point for that than a really relatable villain. And then in this one too, we're introduced to the Gray Man, who I could not stand in this book. I think he redeems himself later, but I hated him so much through this. And if you follow me on Goodreads too, you saw that I was like updating my status and I was like, am I supposed to feel sorry for you now? Because I don't. And I hate the Gray Man and blah, 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 blah. And then later on I was like, okay, like he is kind of a teddy bear. So yeah, there was a lot going on with that too. Overall, really liked this book. Really liked Ronan. I didn't like Ronan as much in the first one because he's kind of a dickhead. Once I found out like more about him and who he was and what's going on with him and his life, I really liked it a lot more. And I also really loved Chainsaw. Chainsaw is awesome. Hurrah! Let's talk about Blue Lily, Lily Blue. So in this one we find out more about Blue and her family, and there's just a lot going on with Caveswater and the Dead Welsh King and blah 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 blah. There's obviously, you've read the book, you know. I again feel that in this book it was slow in the beginning and the middle and then very rushed at the end. There was just so much going on. And in this book, Blue's mother disappears, which again, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that sucks. There was just, I think, a lot of plot moments in this series where I was like, yeah, I feel like I should be more emotionally invested in this, but I'm not. Like when Persephone died. Didn't affect me that much. Maybe I'm just an emotionalist monster. Yeah, it didn't really bother me because I figured things would work out okay. Except with Persephone, because they didn't. Oh, also, Persephone is actually pronounced Persephone, which I didn't know for the longest time, and that's why I'm pronouncing all of these names wrong. I'm just terrible with pronunciation. I read things on the page, and I think they're supposed to be pronounced one way, and then they're pronounced a different way. Anyway, this is why I have kind of a garbled language. I really liked in this book about how Blue was kind of more generally accepted into the Raven Boys circle. I think there was a lot going on with Adam and Gainsey. Again, with stuff I just didn't really care about. Like, I thought Adam could have easily gotten over Blue a lot quicker than he did, and then there was, you know, stuff with him and Ronan going on. But I don't know, it felt so kind of bizarre. And then also in this one we're introduced to Gwenllian, who I found super annoying, which I guess is the point, but like to the point of like, oh my god, just stop talking. Stop it. But again, another really interesting character. I think all of these characters stand really well on their own and they don't really need to be boosted up by anyone else. And so I think that's why at certain points I felt like they could have deserved better. Like Kavinsky, and I think the villain in this, Green Mantle, also was like on his path to like really doing something. But then his wife was like being super strange, and then like, I don't know, he just kind of like ran away because he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Which, same, I get that. But also, I still feel like he could have done a lot more damage than he did. I feel like in this series, that's maybe sort of the point of like, you don't really 100% know what's going on because the characters don't really know what's going on. But then they also, it feels like they know what's going on, and then I'm like, what the hell is happening? So this book just generally confused me. I think is maybe why I didn't enjoy The Raven King as much, but let's talk about that one. I mentioned in my September wrap-up and October TBR that I read The Raven King while I was in England and on the way to England, and there was a lot of traveling going on in my life, and I read the book a lot when I was on the tube and just kind of traversing from place to place. I think because of that, that's why I didn't like the last book as much, because I was constantly maybe thinking about other things, and then I wasn't as invested in the story, and then the ending just felt so blah to me. I ended up giving that one 3 out of 5 stars, unlike the rest of the series, and that one didn't go on my all-time favorites shelf because I thought it was a very confusing ending, and I thought that I ended up with more questions than answers, and I hope some of those questions are answered in the new Ronin series that's coming out eventually. I have no idea when that is. I think the metaphor for this series is there was tons of build-up, and then, like, yay, things happened. But it wasn't the pizzazz and the schnazz and the woo-woo yeah, that I wanted, and it just kind of all fell flat, especially at the very end. Or maybe I just need a longer epilogue or something. I don't know. I'm like really curious to read the Ronan series. I mean, I really like Ronan and I want to see what happens to him. And I want to know what the hell happened to Noah. He was cut out for like a lot of the Raven King and no one really talked about him. And then he did pop up at like really strange times and his character development was just so bizarre. And then he was possessed by that demon and like attacked Blue and it was like, what the hell is happening to my ghost son? I just want him to be happy and like, ugh, yeah, no. So I hope Noah makes a reappearance in the next series as well. I mean, other than that, I do say that it slightly lives up to the hype, maybe not as much as other people hype it up to be, just because I feel like on Tumblr a lot, there's a lot of like fan edits and stuff, which are really cool and really interesting, but I feel like it doesn't live up to the hype that it garnered. If you've read this series and like this series or don't like this series, let me know. I love to hear your thoughts on it and if you agree or disagree with me because that would be very interesting to talk about. Let's try to keep spoilers out of the comments though. If you want to talk to me about this series with spoilers on a different platform, there are links down below. You can do that. Probably try Tumblr or Twitter. As usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find me in links down below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye! But I did put it on my all-time get to give it Kavinsky. What's his last name? First name? Adam? No. Henry? No.